Fantasy Philosophers is brought to you by fantasy-info.com.
Saints and Chargers are the final game we have here for the Friday games in the third week of the preseason. This was slated to be a game that should be an offensive affair, and it sure was. Drew Brees was 18 to 27 for 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Reggie Bush finally started getting catches in the preseason. He had 7 grabs for 70 yards. But the big news here is Robert Meacham. I really wanted to see Robert Meacham get back. He had the toe injury that we've been talking about all offseason. He finally did get back to camp, I believe, about a week or so ago. And so he was in this one. I believe he was starting, but Drew tried to hit him about a 50-yard catch. He looked pretty good on his speed. He doesn't look like he's all the way back, but it was good enough to be effective. He had 2 catches for 28 yards and a touchdown. I think that makes Drew Brees more valuable for his fantasy value and definitely for Robert Meacham. For IDP, Jonathan Vilma got hurt in this game. Don't know the severity of the injury, but keep an eye on that IDPers, especially if you have Vilma. For the Chargers, Rivers had a pretty good game, 165 yards, a touchdown. Gates was his number one man for 5 catches for 66 yards. Malcolm Floyd had himself a good game in this one, 4 catches, 51 yards. And a touchdown, so that is a good thing to see. And Legadou Nene, while he only had 2 catches for 24 yards, he did look pretty good out there. I mean, he looked like he definitely had an idea of what he was doing on the field. This is good to see. I mean, he's a guy that they've been coaching up over the last few years, has a good amount of talent. They think highly of him, with Vincent Jackson coming out even today and saying that he basically is willing to sit out for the entire season. Floyd and Nene are definitely receivers that you need to pay attention to at your fantasy draft, and I think that Gates, right now, we have him booked in as the number 1 tight end to take for fantasy, and especially with Vincent Jackson out, it just means that Gates should continue to get more looks in this offense and still be a very highly productive fantasy option at tight end for your team.
For more fantasy football information, go to fantasy-info.com and sign up for our free e-newsletter. Good luck in your 2010 Fantasy Football League. As an added bonus, the Fantasy Info guys will include their 5 secret tips for success in fantasy football with your free subscription.